Okay, anybody? לא, תשב בזה.
יש לך שם מקום, אולי?
אנחנו שומעים פה מוזיקה. נכון? או שג'סט מים?
מוזיקה, והייתה מוזיקה טובה לפחות.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm Uri Dromi. I run the Jerusalem Press Club. And you're most welcome to the briefing with the General Yaacov Amidror, the former National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister and former head of the National Security Council. General Amidror served 36 years in senior IDF posts, including commander of the military colleges, military secretary to the Minister of Defense, director of the Intelligence Analysis Division in Military Intelligence, and chief intelligence officer of Northern Command, author of 3 books on intelligence and military strategy, and Anna and Greg Rosshandler, senior fellow. As we say in Hebrew, Safra and Saifa. Safra and Saifa, yeah. Combining the book and the sword. Thanks for coming. Please turn off your cell phones or switch them to silent mode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's important. Let's make sure we all take care of that. And General Amidror will speak about the Middle East today, a geostrategic overview. Usually we do 20-25 minutes and then Q&A.
Yes. Okay. I think it's worth us to speak today about the reasons which led to the present situation in the Middle East. I want to speak more about the current issues that we are facing. One is the visit of the representative of the new president of the United States. And I think that what we are facing today, and it will take time till we see the results, is administration, a new administration, which is shaping its policy. They want to understand the both sides' point of view, and they have to make many decisions, not only about the Palestinian issue, but also about Syria and other challenges in the Middle East. But the notion that they say something was declared, and from that people understand that something is going to happen tomorrow morning, or we have to be more careful with what we are doing because they don't let or give something to let. I think it's too early. It's premature. It's an administration which is going to a phase of learning. They have their views, and in some issues, their views are more open towards the Israeli needs than the previous administration. But they have their own attitude, and at the end of the day, it will take time till they will come back with a plan or with suggestions or with a mechanism how to resume the negotiations if it is if it's possible. I'm not sure it's possible, by the way. But if they come to the conclusion that it is possible, they will, but it will take time. Until then, we should not do any action that might lead to a confrontation between us and them at the same time. But But at the same time, we have our own interests and our needs, and we have to find ways how it can go together with the process of learning by the new administration. In one side, people say this is the one president that we prayed for 8 years that will appear and will help us to solve our problems. And from the other side, people are saying, oh, you see, he's hesitating, he's not doing what he promised to do, and you will be disappointed from the decisions that he will take. This side doesn't understand what the president is doing. This side does not understand what the president is doing because the administration itself does not have a very clear policy that they can speak about and make decisions upon, and it will take time. For sure, this administration, as I said, is more open to the Israeli needs than the previous one. So, at the end, how it will look like, I don't know. And I think that it's too early to anyone to judge this administration and to build high expectations. It's too early, and we will have to wait. Syria is something which it's happening. We are now in a situation in which we never had been, in which at one side we have our policy, and we intend to continue to work and to act upon this policy. And there are two red lines that, if be crossed by the other side, we will have to react. One is transfer of weapon systems, game changer weapon system or sophisticated weapon system, whatever will be the definition, that we think should be stopped and not be moved to the hands of Hezbollah. The second red line is about building bases or military capabilities in the Golan Heights in the Syrian side. Either it is by ISIS or Hezbollah, it doesn't matter. In both cases, Israel will do whatever is needed not to let the other side to build this capability. These are the two areas in which we have very clear red line. We are not cooperating with the Russians. We are not getting permissions from the Russians. We are not coordinating with the Russians. We have a red line to prevent any conflict between us and them. This is only and just deconfliction line, not more and not less. It is very important one, because it is not our interest to have any conflict with the Russians. And I hope this line will continue to work as it did in the past. And we are lucky enough to have Russian speakers in both sides of the line. It makes the line very with preventing many mistakes, because they understand each other very well, and that should continue. And I don't think that the Russians will take responsibility for the Syrian mistakes and will not give an umbrella to transfer of weapon systems from Syria to Hezbollah, with all the relations that they have, because they are fighting together in some areas, cooperating with the regime. I don't see the Russians taking responsibility for transfer of weapon systems to the hands of Hezbollah. And so I don't think that is the fact that the Russians are maybe a little bit more sensitive will not stop us from continuing our red line policy, which is very clear to the Russians. Nothing is a surprise for them. In principle, they don't know about specific target, but in principle, nothing is new for them. About Gaza. In Gaza, Hamas changes its leadership and building its capabilities, going on process of building its capabilities. I'm very glad that the chief of staff, the present chief of staff, was very clear about the tunnels. It's a threat, but not a strategic one and not our existence. With all due respect to the tunnel, it's a tactical problem. It will be solved one way or another. And if we will have some challenges, we will face the challenges and decide what to do. It is not more strategic than the ability of Hamas to launch rockets into Tel Aviv. I mean, we have to be modest about what is strategic threat. Not everything that we don't have a full answer to is a strategic threat. Let's keep this strategic name for real big problems and not the one which represented by the tunnels. I don't want to minimize it, but on the other hand, it's not strategic, it's not about the existence of Israel, and it will be solved in the tactical operational level one way or another. The more time that we have, the better we will be prepared to face this challenge. And now it's a question only of time, not of decision. And the fourth issue that I want to speak is Daesh in the Sinai. Daesh is in a retreat in Iraq after the takeover of Mosul by the combination of the Iranians, Americans, militias, Iraqi army, and so on. The preparation for the attack on Raqqa is going on. I don't know when it will begin. And I hope that in this case the Americans will be more cautious and will not let the Shiite militias to be the force on the ground. It will be devastating for the future of the Middle East if Raqqa will be controlled by the Shiites, the combination of the Iranians and others, because what they have in mind is a corridor going from Mosul. Mosul is the entrance, going from Mosul through Raqqa into Aleppo, and then one branch towards Beirut and one branch towards Damascus. It will change the Middle East. The ability of the Shiites, of the Iranians, to have a clear direct access from Iran into the Mediterranean will change the Middle East. The first to understand it was King Abdullah, who spoke about it a year ago, but now it's understood to everyone. The Iranians, by the way, King Abdullah of Jordan, the Iranians are building a new Middle East in which they will control 4 Arab capitals. It's Baghdad, Damascus, Beirut, and Sana'a. And they will have a direct road into the Mediterranean. The big question is what will be the reaction of the Turks? Because Turkey is the closest big Sunni state to this area. And will they agree to the new situation in which the Iranians are controlling the south part of their border and became not just in the north but also in the south their neighbors? Good question. I'm not sure that it will make the people in Ankara happy in the future. But because Turkey is now very much involved in its own domestic issues about the referendum and so on and so forth, we don't see any reaction yet. But I'm sure that the day after the referendum, the very smart Turkish decision makers and those who are dealing with the strategy in Ankara immediately will understand that this is going to be a huge change from the Turkish point of view. What will be the reaction? I don't know. We see administration in Washington which is with more readiness to be involved in very low scale, but more readiness to be involved. Special forces in Raqqa, some forces, mainly auxiliary forces in Mosul. But I think that people in Washington understand slowly, but they begin to understand that the alternative to not being involved is to give the Russians to open the door for the Russians, and the Russians will come in. And when they are in the room, it's a different situation, and it's not so easy to take them out of the room after inside. You can prevent them to enter, but when they are inside the room, it's a different story. So again, here the administration is learning, and they have to make decisions during the process, on the job training in a way. And they will learn what will be the results. I don't know. As was published, we are going to enhance our active defense systems by bringing in the David Sling system, Shavik Samim in Hebrew, and that with the Arrow 2 and later on with the Arrow 3 will be a complete, the complete layers that we invested in. The question is, at the end of the day, how you coordinate all these systems together. You have to build something of systems. And the number of interceptors that we will have at the end, because on the other side, Hezbollah has 100,000, at least 100,000 rockets and missiles, and for that you need huge number of interceptors. And you have to add to that the number of missiles and rockets in Gaza. And altogether, Israel is surrounded by forces which have the capability to launch 1,000 rockets and missiles every day. And Israel will have to prepare itself to deal with this threat. It's now after we cross the technological phase. Now it's a question of money. How much money Israel will be ready to invest in this particular capability? About the Iron Dome, it will be easier in the future because we have now the ability to produce part of it or most of it in America. So we can use American money because it's done in America. It makes our life more flexible when we want to decide how many interceptors we want to have in our stores. But you understand that the numbers should be very, very high. And the whole issue is very costly. Israel will, during the years, Israel will spend between $7 to $10 billion only on active defense. It's a huge number, but at the end of the day, will give Israel the flexibility if Israel has to deal with Hamas or with Hezbollah or with both. That's what I had to say. Don't ask me about the Kol Israel and all the issue of
why these are questions of high national security. No?
Ta'gid HaShidur and so on. It's not my field. I don't feel that I have any knowledge about it. Not even 1 millimeter.
But can you guess why what's going on in a general sense?
No.
Okay.
In general sense, I can tell you, I read yesterday that Israel was number 11 in the list of happiness in the world. Number 11.
Not the first time, for many years.
No, for many years, yes. And in number 9 in health systems. So we are in good position
number
to.
5 in life expectancy.
And so we have. This is because of the Miluim.
Questions.
So we are in a very good position to continue. I mean.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, please. Ben.
Ben Zegner from Austrian television. I frequently hear opinions saying, by experts, saying that in fact Israel, from a military point of view, has never been before in such a comfortable position due to the situation of the Arab world. Would you agree with this?
As was our president used to say, yes and no. Yes, because of the changes in the Arab world and the disintegration of some countries, and the fact that in many cases people understand that Israel is not the issue. They have other problems. Israel is not anymore in the focus of many countries in the area. So from this point of view, Israel is in a much better position. But at the same time, Iran after the agreement with the Americans is going to gain legitimacy within the years. And we have to understand that 10 years from now, we will be in a totally different situation relating to Iran after getting the legitimacy because of the agreement. So at the end of the period of the agreement, Israel will be in a totally different situation to deal with the Iranians, which are building their capabilities, as I described, but not only in the Middle East, also in the big Middle East, also in Iran itself. They are buying weapon systems, they are investing in their military, in their missiles, and so on and so forth. So, yes, if you look at the Middle East as a whole, less threats to Israel. If you go to Iran, you understand that that might change the day after the agreement period.
Yes, sir.
I mean, militarily, yes, Israel is very strong, and the fact that Israel is the first state in which the two first F-35 out of UNSS of America had been landed, it's not an accident. We want to be strong, and we are trying to convince our friends in America to help us to be stronger. And in many cases, we succeed to do it. And the previous administration was very good in this regard, to build the capability of Israel to defend itself by itself. But at the same time, the Middle East now is more volatile. And the change or the moving from the peaceful situation of today, when we feel very good, deterrence, we are very strong, and so on and so forth, to a big operation during which many missiles will be launched into the heart of Israel, it might be a question of days or even hours. 2 or 3 mistakes and we are there, because unlike states, organizations' decision making is much more volatile. And it can happen in Gaza with the new leadership in Gaza, for sure. And it might even happen with Hezbollah, although the most cautious guy in the Middle East today is Nasrallah, because he understands the price that he will pay. And he said clearly and loudly, if I would have been known that that will be the outcome of the operation in 2006, I wouldn't do it. But he's very cautious guy, but again, miscalculation, mistake, it's something that might be very short. So it put Israel in a situation that if you ask from 60,000 feet above the Middle East, is Israel in a better position military security-wise? The answer is yes. If there is one threat to its existence behind the corner, it is Iran. And the volatile situation in the Middle East might lead to a big operation within days or hours.
Yes, please.
Rainer Schmidt, German Press. How do you regard the relationship between Moscow and Tehran, and do you think Russia might interfere in this Iranian attempt to get access to the Mediterranean?
In a way, they are sharing the same goals relating to Syria. They are working together, fighting the opposition. The Russians are giving the air support, and Iran and Hezbollah is providing the ground forces, if you can call it, and they are cooperating, fighting the opposition. I'm not sure that they are sharing the same expectation about the future. It's not the interest of Russia that the Iranians will control this part of the heart of the Middle East. On the contrary, but how it will work in the future, I really don't know. I'm very pessimistic about the ability and the willingness of the Russians to contain the Iranians. I don't think it's going to happen. And this is why they cannot take responsibility, and by telling us, don't do it, because they understand that they cannot take the responsibility because they're not ready to contain them.
Walter.
until relatively recently, Israel has tried very hard to keep out of the conflict in Syria, keep well clear of Syria. Now, in recent days, recent times, this has changed and there have been airstrikes. To what extent do you think Israel would get involved in the conflict in Syria?
Nothing was changed in the policy of the State of Israel relating to Syria. Nothing. There was a military issue here that they succeeded. I don't know how, because I'm not familiar with the details of this specific attack. Maybe it was deeper, I don't know, far behind the lines. And they have the capability to launch the missile, and they did it. Israel didn't change any one element in its policy. And we are very determined to continue in the future. Not to be involved in Syria, but as I said, to prevent any transfer of weapon systems, and mainly game changer weapon systems, into the hands of Hezbollah in Syria. And at the same time, to block any attempt to build launching pads against Israel in the Golan Heights. So in these two areas, we didn't change, and the State of Israel didn't change anything, and the same policy is continuing.
Sometimes stray missiles come across.
This is nothing. In the Golan Heights, this is nothing. Mistake by local forces. Yes.
Anne Ponga, German press. You repeated several times that Israel would be able to deal with the tunnels of Hamas this way or another. This way we can imagine, the one way by destroying the tunnels. What would be the other way?
We are working on that, and when we will have to give the answers, we will have answers. For today, the answers are not full, and we have to work and to invest more time and money. But at the end of the day, we will find a solution. It's a challenge, but it will be answered.
Why is it so complicated? What is so complicated about it?
Because people are giving the example of Iron Dome and say, look, Iron Dome, we finish in 1 year. We came to Iron Dome after 40 years of experience with radar systems and anti-missile systems. And we have to make it something in a different way, but with a lot of experience from the past. In Israel, we don't have any experience about this issue of underground tunnels. We have good agriculture, and this is about the first 20 centimeters. And we have experience with drilling oil, and this is about 10 kilometers. All the land between, all the space between the 20 centimeter and the 20 kilometer, we have to work on. And we are learning. By the way, no one in the world has a good solution to that. Not the Americans that are facing the same challenges in the border with the Mexico. They had some experience in Vietnam, and we gained some experience in Lebanon, but it is not about this kind of tunnels. And the more we are learning, the more we understand what should be the solution, and it will be found.
Yes, please. Quick follow-up, yes.
The other way, you didn't think of diplomatic.
No, I don't see how diplomatic means can solve the tunnels.
Or make the situation in Gaza much easier.
You think that the tunnels are because the situation in Gaza is not easy? Assuming that we will provide Hamas with more bread, wheat, I don't know what, food and so on. So whatever. Do you think that that they will minimize their efforts to build their capability to attack Israel?
No, she's asking you.
Do you think that there is a connection?
That,
Yes. If there are such people, they are very naive.
Yes, please.
It's not that we don't have the. It will not be smart to help the people in Gaza as much as possible. But At the same time, remember, when we bring them all these capabilities to build their destroyed homes, what they are doing is to take the materials and to build more tunnels.
Yes, please.
Melanie Phillips of the Times of London. What, in your view, should the West be doing to contain Iran? And relatedly, given what you said about Israel's position in Syria policy in Syria not having changed, what nevertheless is in Israel's best interests for Assad to stay or to go?
The second question is a very interesting one. It's two diseases that you have to pick one. One is the Daesh kind of regime, and the other one is Iranian. At the end of the day, at the moment, for Israel, the combination of the Iranians, Hezbollah, is more dangerous. Not because the other side is more moderate, because the capabilities that the Iranians have and Hezbollah is getting from Iran are much, much more complicated and a challenge to the ability of Israel to defend itself. It will take, I don't know, another 50 years to Daesh to have the number of missiles and rockets with the same accuracy that the Hezbollah has today. So if it's a theoretical question, of course, because we are not making the decision and we decided not to interfere, not to take side, and we are very, very orthodox about this decision. We are not taking side in the war between the Shiites and the Sunnis in Syria. It's an historic war. One side will be eliminated by the other one. Day after, one side will win the war, and both sides will be as cruel as the other one. Don't hesitate. If the Sunni side wins the war, it's the end of the Alawite sect in Syria. Only nice women will be kept. And at the other side, look what happened in Aleppo or in Mosul. The Shiites are not going to give up. They will kill as many Sunnis as needed to keep the control of Syria in their hands. Women, children, old people, they don't care. It's both sides, it's very cruel people. In most of the cases, of course, you can find some elements which are not. And Assad understands that it's not him personally, it's the end of the whole sect. And the people in Dera or in Aleppo understand that if the Alawites wins, it's the end of the Sunnis in this area. And we are not intent to take part in this fight between the two sides within the Islam. It's not our interest, it's not our job. To tell you the truth, I think it's too big on us. It's something which is going from the 7th century till today. We as the state of Israel should not be interfering. What we are doing, and we are doing a lot, is to help humanitarily to people who are coming to the border in the Golan Heights.
You think we should do more on the humanitarian side?
We are doing whatever we can. Whatever we can. We are not speaking about it because we don't want the other side to stop it. But the pictures that you see in the Israeli hospitals is only a part of the effort that we are doing to help those people in the Golan Heights and those who are coming to the line from the pure humanitarian point of view.
And what about what the West should do to contain Iran?
This is the more complicated question. First of all, I think that the West should make it clear to the Iranians that nothing from the economic point of view will be invested in Iran if Iran continue the same policy. And that should be very strict. And if you don't do it today, you will lose the opportunity because the Iranians now need these investments. And you have to put a list. Retreat from, don't be involved in, don't support, and list of what the Iranians should not do. And to make very clear to the Iranians that the day that they do it, all the investment will be stopped. You have to come to the Iranians and say, if you continue testing the missiles, that will be the punishment that you will get. And do it now, because now they are in a weak position because of the future from the sanctions from the past. 5 years from now, it will be too late. The economy will be too strong, and you will not have this capacity. In some areas, you can use your military force. If you will encourage the Americans to be more firm in the Gulf and not let the Iranians to play with the American Navy. Stand behind the Americans if you don't have this capability by yourself, saying, okay, we understand and we are backing the Americans if they decide to be tougher towards the Iranians. This voice of Europe in this special case, because the Europeans don't have the capabilities, but in this time when the administration is shaping its policy, a very strong word from the European side will be very helpful to those in America who are saying America should do something to contain the Iranians. Both in the economic side and the military side, the voice of Europe is very important. If it will be only the Americans again, it will be very almost impossible. It will be very hard to get to a solution. The combination here in this particular time, the combination between Europe and America is very important.
Jean-Michel.
Jean-Michel Riquet, Interpress. How do you see the collaboration between Iran and North Korea, and what are the effects on Israel? Follow question.
We know that the basis for the Iranian missile capability was both in North Korea. We know for sure that the North Koreans tried to build a reactor in Syria. We know that in few occasions, experts from Iran took part in some tests and launching shows in North Korea. There are rumors about cooperation relating to nuclear capability. I personally don't know about any concretic event or information, but there are many rumors within the security intelligence and the media about this cooperation. How strong it is, how far it is, I really don't know. What is more important for us is to learn from the North Korean experience. Remember, the Americans signed an agreement with the North Korea. And what is the result at the end of the day? Bombs and more bombs. Take the Iranians with their ideology and their capabilities, a much bigger state than the North Korean, and think what might be the consequences of the same process happening in Iran. And no one can guarantee that based on the agreement that the Americans have with the Europeans have with the Iranians, we will not see the same happening in Iran. So even if there is no direct connection that North Koreans are producing something in Iran, and vice versa, the issue of nuclear agreement, which violated by one side and without any answer from the guarantors of the agreement, this is making the experience of North Korea a very important one.
Yes, please.
Golan Heights from Bonicom. After Assad's victory in Aleppo, clearly the regime is
It's not Assad victory.
the regime, Iranians, Hezbollah,
It's the Russians and the Iranians and Hezbollah. The contribution of the regime was very minimal.
After that victory, there's clearly other places in the north that are important, but at some stage it seems reasonable that they will seek to come south.
Mm-hmm.
one option is to try and get the Russians to drive a wedge with the Iranians, but you're probably legitimately not impressed by that option. What can Israel do to prevent a Hezbollah Iranian infrastructure being set up on the Golan?
As we did in the past, to use our capabilities to destroy it.
Simple as that.
We did it in the past and we should do it in the future.
Anybody? We are wrapping up. Walter.
The Prime Minister is right now in China,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about North Korea before. Can you say something about our relations with China and the connection with North Korea?
We don't have any connection with North Korea. Again, Israel should have some modesty when we speak about the international arena. And Israel cannot be the one who will convince the Chinese to change their attitude towards North Korea. With all due respect to Israel, and I have a lot of respect. Our relations with China are focusing on the economic side. It is clear for the Chinese that we do not intend to sell China any weapon system or even technology which might be used in the military sphere. It's pure economic and relations that from our point of view, from their point of view, have a very important part which is not economic, it is about culture. And we want to promote the Israeli culture in China, and for the Chinese it's very important to promote the Chinese culture in Israel.
What does that mean, promoting culture?
Yeah, for example, they open a Chinese school in the Hebrew University to teach more Chinese culture, history, and the language. One example. So at the end of the day, it's economy, technology, and culture, and for sure, nothing relating to military.
I have Ben.
The first thing you touched in your introduction was the United States, and as we know, Trump says America first, so why at all would he try to get involved anew with the Israelis and the Palestinians, and what would be his chances?
I don't know. That you have to ask him.
I have a question for you. Former Mossad head Tamir Pardo said that the only existential threat to Israel is internal, is within, is not deciding about whether or not to go on a two-state solution. What do you think about that?
I think that professionally is wrong, because the ability of the Iranians to get nuclear capability is a threat to the existence of Israel, not less than that. And they are very serious about it.
Shouldn't former Mossad head know about
No,
this?
that you have to ask him. But what I'm saying, professionally, pure professionally, is wrong. There is at least one threat to our existence, and it is nuclear Iran, that should be prevented. About what he said of the internal issue, within a week I will publish in Besa Center in Bar Ilan University a paper about the options relating to the Palestinian issue. And at the end of the paper I came to the conclusion that first, there are only two basic solutions. One is independent state, and one is
Independent
Palestinian state, and one is one state which will be national at the end of the day. Because we will bring in between, I don't know, they are fighting about the numbers. It's not less than 1.5 million and not more than 2.5 million, leave alone Gaza. So
What keeps you busy these days?
Yes.
What is
Wait.
Wait.
We are in the
it's
middle.
not a personal.
okay.
And at the end of the day, I tried to analyze all the pro and cons for both options. I gave it to 4 people, 2 from the right and 2 from the left. to criticize my arguments. And I think that at the end of the day, all the arguments are in for two-state solution and for one-state solution. And all the critics about one-state solution and all the critics about against one-state.
And what's the bottom line?
The bottom line is that there are two levels on which people will decide. The minority, more educated, motivated by ideology, will have to confront two issues. One is this is our homeland. We got it from God or through the history, and people do not give up their homeland because it's not convenient. One side. The other side is the occupation is corrupting us, even if we are the best occupier in the world, as was declared by Gadi Shami. And he is right. Israel is a very humanitarian occupier, but at the end of the day, it's occupation. This is the ideological level. You cannot convince people. It's not something about logic. Some people believe in that side, some people believe in this side. The practical side, at the end of the day, it's two bad practical solutions. The right wing does not have any answer to the demographic danger of being absorbed in 2 million Palestinians. They don't have, I put in the paper all the answers. None of them is valid. Some of them are wishful thinking, some of them are expectations. Nothing is a real answer. At the same time, and Gadi Shamli made the best security paper by those who are promoting the two-state solution.
Former Gadi Shamli is former.
Yes, he's a former
military.
military commander of the Central Command. This is more important. And he did it with an American institution. They did the best work that I read up till today, but they don't have answer to two questions. One, what happened if Hamas win the elections in the West Bank and we will have to face Hamas state 1 kilometer from here? And the other question that they don't have an answer to is what happened in Jordan will be something which will change the regime. The whole notion of the paper based on the understanding that on the other side of the Jordan River, there is someone to cooperate with. Because if Jordan will be different Jordan, instead of being buffer state, it will be transfer state, which will transfer into Israel all the problems from the east, not being a buffer one. And this is the best, and it means that at the end of the day, the left wing does not have an answer to the security issue. If this side does not have an answer to the demographic side, to the demographic challenge, this side does not have any answer to the security side. So at the end of the day, the one who will have to make a decision will have to pick a bad solution. And it's a question of taste more than anything else, what you prefer to deal with. Do you prefer to deal with a hostile country 1 mile from the Knesset? Or you prefer to deal with domestic problems coming from the fact that you have a minority of 40% which is not loyal to the state. It will not be loyal to the state for forever.
What's your choice?
It doesn't matter. My conclusion is that because we don't have a good solution, more important than the details of the solution is to bring as many Israelis to support the solution that you take. Because whatever will be the solution, Israel will have to face many challenges in the future, and have to fight in the future. Either it will be against the minority inside or against an hostile state outside. And this is why the consensus around the solution is more important than the solution itself. And the outcome of it is that the one who will make the decision will have to neglect the extreme people in the right side and the extreme people in the left side, and to bring to the people of Israel to a solution that will not be liked by the ideology in the right and the ideology in the left. It should be something very practical, which is not giving full answers to either side, but it's good enough to live with. To bring more Israelis around the solution is more important than the solution, the details of the solution itself.
Ben?
But there
Ben?
is a third possibility, which is not to take any decision.
No, it's not a possibility. Because this is to cheat ourselves. Because if you don't make decision, you lead to the situation either that it will be a one state at the end, because you block all the other alternatives, or that you are going in a very low way to a situation in which you will have two states, because you are building it slowly without giving to yourself a real report that what you are doing practically. No, you have to make a decision now, because whatever you do on the ground, the first question is that you have to ask yourself, I want to go to this direction, A, doesn't matter which direction. The first question that you have to ask yourself is, what I'm doing now, is it making more barriers to get to A or not? If the answer is yes, don't do it. If the answer is no, okay, now you will make all your calculation if to do it or not.
We're finishing. Okay, that was a bonus, you know.
Read the paper in Besa. It will
Carefully.
be published, I don't know, today, tomorrow.
Okay,
No,
so
in
we'll-
English it will take another week.
So we'll also
You
make
can
sure
read it within 2 days in Hebrew and in Arabic. In English, I'm now going through the last version, and it will take another
Okay,
week.
we'll watch it and we'll send you links to this. General Amidror, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation.
You are
Thank
more
you
than
guys
welcome.
for coming. See you at our next event. Thank you very much.
So, do the radio interview, we'll
Yes.
just, I'll take Uri's place.